and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
I think we have some corrections in the minutes.
Yeah, I think we agreed on the 2 different bids for county highway last month. It only shows a CCMG bid approved by O'Mara, but we should add something in there for the other bids. I believe Mr. Fors was a part of the CCMG bid process, but not the
milling
and
patching.
Yes.
So it says in there that Mark had recused himself from the vote on the community crossing. He had voted on that when we had accepted O'Mara's bid. He had recused himself from the FOB bid. And then the FOB was awarded the vote.
You guys see anything else?
I did not.
So with those corrections, I move to approve.
Second.
Concur. Claims. I had a bunch of, might take a minute.
They're showing 2 UPS battery backups and surge protectors out of 61 Coon Cat, but do we know what department that came out of?
What's the number on it?
It's line 10 in Excel.
If it's 2 surge protectors, it's probably out of the auditor's office, and that's where the council moves all the equipment and furniture to Coon Cat. Is it the 44,900?
Yeah.
Our council?
Yeah, 41
Yeah,
I know.
that's where the council moves all the departments with us.
So all the departments just go through that.
All the county general and some of the other departments.
Okay.
So there's the Baker Tilly payment, is that a continuing payment?
That's a redevelopment fee, or a fee that they charge for redevelopment.
No, this is on the, it's charged to the jail.
Well, that would be for the continuing disclosure they have to file with feds.
So is that once a year? Then we missed the payment to the hospital for ambulances back in April.
They missed submitting, they have to submit an invoice.
Okay,
So I went back and
so that was on them.
Yes.
In Gillum, why are we paying 2 months in one? They just didn't bill us for July?
They didn't bill us for June.
Okay.
Again, they have to submit invoices, we don't, it's automatic.
Okay, then this next one is Greensburg Municipal Water. The water bill, Community Corrections Building, $854. Is that just for 1 month? Because that's more than the courthouse.
It is.
We got a leak or something over there that nobody knows about?
That part I wouldn't know, but I don't, not aware of Greensburg, and, contacting us to say, hey, this is higher, that's kind of the average.
And then what have we got at 119 East Railroad Street? That's at the old jail site,
They charge us surface water.
just for owning property?
Last year, they started that last year, didn't they?
Yes,
But there's 3 of them.
there's 3 parcels. As you, what is it, Broadway and Franklin, that border,
Okay,
plus Railroad Street,
What do we have at North Franklin Street?
charging us for our corner.
That parking lot. Okay, this one's public, you know this.
Yeah, that's all.
West Washington and North Lincoln.
Well, I'm not sure because they say West Washington and North Lincoln, and I questioned that, and they said that's what it is.
I don't think West Washington crosses Lincoln Street.
It does not. I think they mean East Washington.
But what have we got down there?
Well, it shouldn't be Washington, it should be North Street, the Armory. I guess, I don't know. Okay.
I'm paying stormwater on that one.
Are you paying stormwater on that one?
I'll double check, but I thought we were paying that one.
Other than if they say East Washington and Lincoln, I don't know about the bridge.
And 106 North Franklin Street.
That would probably be the parking lot. The other North Franklin would be the east side of the courthouse.
And it's the extension office, 245 South County Road.
I thought it was 545.
Well, there's one for 245 South County Road 200. And there's also one for 545 South County Road.
I'm gonna say
We
it's
might be the 245.
True.
The complex might be the 245. I thought we were getting that one as well, but I'll.
Let's charge the commissioners.
I'll double check both of them.
I mean, it's the first time I've noticed all this stuff. Maybe we've been getting it.
But there's no water. It's
No.
surface water.
It's surface water.
Because they have to do that
too.
We're not saying heat.
They're saying they have to have storm sewers, and that's how they're paying for them.
Well, they have no storm sewer. I'm assuming this one is for, it says highway department. Do you have city water out there where you're at currently? You're on city water? Okay.
Yeah, and they have called me, saying seems like there's a leak, but there's nothing visible. But we've also been doing a lot of spraying, a lot of deck washing. So we've been using a little bit more water, but they said my meter seems like it's running all the time. The toilets, they're fine, the sinks are fine.
It seems to need to have a conversation with the city, I guess. Yeah, the water for the courthouse is only $384, but the water for the
So I'm not getting all that.
Washington School Building is $854, $500 more.
Seems a lot.
Did you pull up the 245 South County Road 200, Tony? See what you get over there. It's marked.
That's swimming pool.
45 South County Road.
Yes.
That's Clinton's house, 200 West.
One, Christie just brought up, several years ago, Maxwell's recommended that the courthouse replace the size of our water main coming in, the 4-inch to the 2-inch or 3.
You know,
And it
from
reduced
6
our-
to 4 or 4 to
Yeah.
2, I don't remember. And it dropped our water bill significantly when we did that.
So she's wondering, maybe that's what we need to do for services.
Yeah, I'll go out and talk to Don.
That's 245 South County Road, 200 West. It's like the ball times.
Okay, so it came up a little bit different there on mine.
But if they're double dipping on the furnace and us, 245.
I just need to check.
When you pull up 245, does it show commissioners or parks department?
Board of Commissioners.
And so, okay, so that was I'm just saying, I don't think I got the bill.
Right.
Just let us
And
know.
I'll check and see. If
Yeah, they're double dipping, they are.
I went down and talked about it, about all of them, because we've got them on everything. But I'll double check and see.
Okay.
So,
That's all the questions I have. You guys have anything else? Motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Payroll here. This means payroll, this. Weekly payroll.
I didn't have any questions on payroll.
I move to approve. So,
Mr. Todd Alk.
Couple things to report, the bridge on 46 at Mile Highway Garage is opened up last Wednesday. Glad to see that, ahead of schedule. I think it was due to be closed till September, so I think that's helped some of the county roads out there.
what's the condition like now after having all the detours and everything for some of those roads that were being heavily traveled?
The 200 is not bad, 200 south, 350 is not bad. Probably the one that got beat up the most was 100 south, which is due to be paid by the best way. So if anything, I don't think solve that. We can do a little bit of patching on there, just some big potholes on 100.
And how much, I know I get calls about 100 South fairly regularly.
Yeah.
Any update on that timeline?
Not for sure.
3 weeks.
I think
Within 3 weeks.
that they were waiting till
Then we'll
after
pay it till the bridge is back
the
up.
bridge was open before they started on that.
That will make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
So you'll need to file a settlement with NDOT for some of those roads, or they'll make an offer.
Well, the only one that they'll come back and audio will be 350. Okay, so that'll be the only road that they'll come back and audio, and we'll be able to get repairs from.
350 east.
Yeah, 350.
Yes. From 46 to.
Yeah,
So they're not gonna do anything with Bates Road. That's where they directed the traffic.
well, they'll have Base Road 2 all the way to 46. But they'll come back out and film that now that project's done. And I'll be in touch with Roger Wessel at NDOT to find out what they come up with on that.
Okay. I know we usually sit down at the table and negotiate that.
Yeah. The CCMG for 2022 is underway. 700 West has been done. And I think Mark is working on 500 North and 350 West and 420 West come up next to be paved. On bridge maintenance, we continue to do that with riprap, epoxy injection. We also have done 2 waterproof membranes, which was suggested by Bridge Inspection and NDOT. Down there on 700 West, and there's another bridge adjacent on that next road past Vandalia. I think it's 200. We've got a couple other bridges prepped with the waterproof membrane. One's on 1000 West, and one is on 950 East over by Millhausen. So as soon as we can get something scheduled to get those paved, so we can open that road. I did check with other counties on line of sight, what they were doing with the corn maturing, and they don't have an ordinance. Rush County does not take care of the roadsides, so according to their attorney, they can't do anything. As far as Shelby County has the same issues, don't miss the same farmers, and Normally the sheriff's department calls in or school bus calls in, and then the landowners contacted, and for the most part, they do it. Everybody that I've contacted for line of sight in the county so far has went and took care of it. As of mowing and bush hogging, we'll continue to do that. I think we've been working on 421. That was getting pretty bad.
That's good.
Spraying vegetation. I had put in your mailbox, Mark, the dust pad agreement. And would like you guys to look at that to see if that's something we want to approve to do
50/50 cost share.
on a 50/50 cost to any landowner that wants to put a dust pad on their road. They would be responsible for half of the cost up front before it is paved, and the county would observe the maintenance of that. I found a form that was put out back in 1990 on a dust pad agreement because a lady called in. She said the dust pad's pretty bad, and I know we do 1 or 2 dust pads last year, Mark. Yeah, there was a couple of dust pads that we needed to do last year that we did that were just in bad shape. So if anything, I think the attorney needs to look at that form, make sure it's a legal binding between the homeowner and the county on the dust pad.
What exactly is that, Tom?
Well, it's on a gravel road, and
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, so it may be 420 feet, it may be 500 feet.
Yep.
Okay, just,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, so that way they don't have to eat the dust year round.
My parents, that's exactly what my parents are. We can have a chat, look at that, but I don't see any issues there.
Okay. Well, I had Tim make up a new document because I couldn't find that old one. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the lady calls in, got the dust pad, so we asked her if she could send us a copy of that, what it used to be. So, but they did, like I said, they did back there, I don't know how many years before that. But I couldn't find any reference or anything, so according to Mark Moore, he, at one time they just quit doing them. But I'm open, it doesn't matter. I would like to be able to help if they want to split the cost.
Do you have updated cost on that yet?
I
I know you said the whole cost was on that paper.
Well, it was $2 a foot, but I had Tim run specs, NDOT specs.
$1992.
Yeah, yeah, so I couldn't tell you what it is a foot. I could get the breakdown, but I know there's a couple of them that 425 foot long on dust pad, and the half of that for the landowner was like around $6,300 then, and the $6,300 for the county. So if I break that down, I could get you a per foot cost. So, but I don't have that figured out, no.
Okay.
Are any of those areas roads that would be under consideration for paving or anything like
No,
that in
it's-
the
I
future?
mean, this 1,000 West is coming out of, the Squirrel Town, they call it down there, Waynesburg. And coming out of Waynesburg, it's paved so far, then it turns gravel and goes gravel to 950 and then all the way to 1,000. But there's only, after the pavement ends, there's like 2 homes. So to me, I wouldn't, if I was going to pave, I'd rather make a bigger impact on the community if there was 20 homes on that road. So as far as county looking at that, I would say no at this time.
It's about $30 a foot. based off of those.
Yeah.
That would be in 1990.
Okay, you want to talk about, road grader?
We could just table that for now.
Okay.
Let Chad
We'll
look
get
at
back
it,
to
do
it.
something about it.
All
We
right,
can get
that's
back to it
fine.
next meeting.
Contractor started on Bridge 236 over Junior High. The bridge has been knocked out. That also includes a sidewalk project all the way to the high school. That seems to be moving along pretty good. I emailed you guys the road counts from 150 West that I received. And I've actually I have that lady, Jody Comer, coming over from that SIRPC. She's coming over tomorrow to review what I'm actually looking at. What I found is on 150 West, the daily traffic's about 589 cars a day. The average speed is 26 mile an hour to 34 mile an hour. Okay. There was some mile per hour that I did see that was more, not at the peak time, but that were 42 miles an hour plus.
How many did you have there, Todd?
I'm sorry?
How many vehicles did that show doing that?
42 mile an hour plus, looks like 18, looks like about maybe 40. And as far as that time frame, there was a 3, looks like that was later in the evening. It looked like the peak time was 5 p.m. and 8 o'clock a.m. So once I have some more, once she comes over, shows me how to, because you guys got the classification of what all traveled on that road. I hope to have some more information from her tomorrow. Meet with her at 9 o'clock. She's coming to my office, bring her laptop and show me how to navigate NDOT's web portal to find out any road. I did find out that they do 10 counts on county roads on a grant for each county. And then every 4 years, they do road count on every road in the county. So I don't know where we're at in that, but she considered this one road count that I'll be up to use this year or next year. So that's why I have all the road counts. And then I got an email from my bridge inspection in regards to Bridge 70 on 50 North, that they would like to close that out, whether we're going to close that bridge or if we're going to repair it in-house from the county, or if we're going to seek federal aid. I have John Colcover here from United. I'll let him answer any questions that you guys have in regards to that, but I think the intent a couple, 2 or 3 years ago was to replace Bridge 73, which is on 150 North, okay, in between 850 and 950 East, and use that as a runaround road and close that bridge. But that was the talks before I kind of came in. So I don't know if that's still the feeling that you would all have on that. And if you have any questions.
We're talking about the bridge on 50 North that goes over Salt Creek.
Yeah. I think on the other side of the bridge, if you're going south from the bridge, 950, there's not a home on it. Okay. If you're going north from the bridge to 850, I think there's maybe 6 homes. Daily traffic count, I haven't once she shows me how to figure this out, I can give you that, but I think it's a very low traveled road.
What's the condition then for 73?
The condition what?
For 73?
On 115.
73, it's already been built. We're basically doing some road alignment done. We've also road widened. And I think in talks previous to Jeremy and Tony coming on, I think the commissioners was wanting to possibly pave that road as a runaround road. So I'll be getting numbers on cold mix. I think we were thinking about doing pug mix on that road. It just depends on the cost.
Looks like there is a farm right where the bridge is.
Correct. And I know he came in and talked to me when we closed that bridge because we had a critical finding, and he said he would be good with that bridge being closed. I don't know about the other locals, I haven't talked to them.
Everybody else is a lot closer. He's the one that's farthest away from me.
I'd like to make contact with those people that would potentially be immediately impacted by that. Sure. That decision to close it.
Yeah.
If that's what we need to do.
But I don't know.
The bridge is closed now, correct?
Correct.
And to keep it.
Permanently closed.
Yeah.
Are we under any stipulation on that?
Yeah, we just need to respond back to NDOT because there's a 30-day period where they want that bridge to be closed out, to be permanently closed, which involves the ahead signs and permanent closure in front of the bridge. So.
Right
Kind
now,
of cost, John, any kind of cost, what it would take to replace that bridge?
Yeah, we provided some budget numbers to the highway department a few weeks ago. And we put it together as if it would be a federal aid project, which would be 80/20. I think the total project cost was 2.5 million, including engineering, right of way, and construction inspection.
with that being said, I think if you guys want to possibly rebuild that bridge, I think the county can do that locally a lot cheaper. And use the federal aid money on a bridge that may be a lot longer and possibly impact the county better.
So John, how would it work if we closed it for now and decided next spring we'd work out the budget for county forces to redo that bridge? And that take place, or once we tell NDOT we're closing it, it's closed, or how does that work?
Well, I mean, you can always open it back up. They just want it to be permanently closed until you replace it.
Okay.
So
that would still require me to go down there and put dead end signs?
yes.
Okay. Right now we have a load of gravel coming from each direction, and then we also have type 3 barricades. And we have type 3 barricades up at the nearest intersection. I think what the county would have to do is put road closed dead and dead end signs and leave the barricades at that bridge. Okay, and then as far as the one at the nearest intersection, we'll remove that type 3 because we've got a posting of road closed and dead end.
That bridge is fairly narrow too, isn't it?
I'm sorry.
Narrow?
Yes, very narrow. And
It's one lane pretty much.
Yeah, I think there's been semis that got stuck in that bridge and
It's got a real weird approach to it.
yeah. So it would have to be, I think some of that drives the cost because of realignment.
Like we did on 151.
So you guys want to table that till next week to make that, we still within the 30 days?
That the reason this kind of came up and we sent Todd an email was we got a notification from NDOT that had come to an end. We were outside the 30 days. So they were looking for a response as to whether it was going to be permanently closed or something like that. So,
Todd, what do you think it would cost the county to do without the federal grant money?
I could get some numbers for you.
Sounds like we got to make a decision today, so.
Well, if anything, I think we could, as far as our decision we need to make today, is we go down there and post dead end signs, okay? And road closed ahead, keep it on inventory, and then if we decide we want to build it, okay, in-house, then we can still reopen it.
I'm okay with
It's
that.
closed now.
Yeah.
We don't have a choice.
I'm okay with that. If we're taking that hand, I would like to investigate.
Yeah.
I just hate closing the road there. I'd like to investigate how much it would cost for us to.
Yeah, I think it'd be very similar to Bridge 73, and I couldn't even tell you the numbers on that. But I can get that information and forward that to you so you can see that. But my suggestion, if we want to make a decision today, we post dead end signs and road closed and being compliant with NDOT and look and see if we want to permanently close it, take it off the inventory, or if we want to rebuild it in-house.
So need a motion to.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
We'll get in it as long as that.
I concur.
Okay, I'll get that done in the next day or so. Road grader lease. I sent you guys, gentlemen, some information in regards to what I got from Andy Siding, which he's here from John Deere, in regards to the two road graders. Got any other thoughts on that?
Do you have the rest of the information on extended warranty?
No, I told in that email, we'd have to come down at their age, the fluid samples have to be pulled, inspections have to be done. And like I said, it was in that email I sent you, and you never.
Yeah.
So we'd have to do that in order to even try to see if we could get extended warranty on them.
At their age.
There's some outside companies, but it's sold. That's why you have to have fluid, they want fluid samples on everything, complete inspection. So like I said, that's why, it would be on the county, regardless whether you bought it or not.
What are your thoughts there, Todd?
From me, like I said, I'm new. I would say if you're looking at purchasing, I would purchase new. Just for the fact, last time, I think I spoke, we'd had an issue with it was a warranty problem, it was still under warranty. But those pieces of equipment are pretty advanced, and I think it's well over the county to try and maintain those. But my suggestion, in my position, I would say that we up a new lease on new graders. And then if we decide at the end of 3 years we want to purchase, at least we have newer graders.
We still won't have the people servicing ourselves though, right? I mean, they're gonna be more advanced. We buy new versus the old ones, so I mean, we're still gonna have that same issue, right? Or we're not gonna be able to take care of it.
Well, that's kind of been the issue for years before me. It's all the advancement on them and the new controls. I mean, they're all kind of set up the same per se, but as far as using them, we use them. Sometimes we use the heck out of them, sometimes we don't. But if we get 15 inches of snow, definitely we need those to run. And if one's broke down and here it is not covered by warranty, and we gotta cover that in-house with the county's budget. I don't know that there's enough money in the budget for that.
Do you know how much the most recent warranty claim would have cost us? Do you have any idea how much that would have been?
No, I don't.
I don't even know what it was.
I don't know if it's something in the computer, if everything's computerized. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you that.
So Andy, in this letter that you sent Todd, financing the balance of 342 and some change, that's for both graders.
That's for both those graders.
You've got a 4 annual payment of 93,000. What was our current, what had we been paying on a lease payment
Right at 100.
for the two combined?
So it's net 0 to 5. Basically, we're spending that money.
My suggestion is we buy these two graders.
The only other thing you might really, looking at the hours, we did a 3 and then we did an additional 3 for these graders. If you're trying to extend it, why, and I put that in there, why not go to a 5-year lease, put everything under a 5-year lease? It'll drop your payment, on them. It won't get you down to the 100,000, but at least to extend it out, we can get the warranty out, the PM service, everything can still be covered instead of doing a 3-year where it's, more, you're spreading it out over 5 years.
So you're talking on
On
new graders.
yes. Because your hours are so fluctuating. If you do the 5-year, you're gonna still be under, you're at your time now, 6 years, you're still underneath the lowest annual hours you can do on a lease is 1,000 a year. So you'd still be under, even at 5 years, you'd be under your typical use.
You think, say on average, we're under 1,000 a year
Yes.
combined. And that's what I'm like, we're not using it very much.
That's
Whether
my
we-
thoughts.
Whether we could be using them more or not is a question for another day, but the amount of hours we're putting on them in a year versus their cost just isn't there. We were using more of our hours, we're close to what the lease agreement was. It seemed like we more used, but these just aren't getting used for what the cost is. I don't know what it costs to fix them when they break, but it doesn't seem to be, if they're broken, and it's a detriment to our services that much. And snow removal is important, but the last time we had 15 inches of snow.
I'll be this year.
It will be now.
I like the idea of purchasing them. It's a net gain long term.
Just not 6 years and 3,500 hours on them. Just.
Now, in that, you see that email, that 342 that payment of the 93 does not include the PM services that are put down. Is that,
I understand.
okay, I just want to make sure that was.
Our guys can surely change oil. We're gonna have a really nice facility for them to do that in, so. That's my suggestion, guys, in that business.
I agree with that. I mean, the numbers make sense to me doing it that way.
I'm in agreement also. I just note that we'll have to make sure that we have funds or something available for maintenance moving forward that we probably don't have budgeted right now. We need to probably work on that as quickly as possible and figure out if we've got something set aside for that. No budgets are coming up. We can cover the lease, but they'll be, at some point, they'll come in and ask for money to get it fixed before there's no budget.
Good morning, I'm Kip Bancroft with West Side. I would also suggest that you think about moving that lease or purchase budget upwards as you move forward, because by the time you get ready to buy them again, you'll be almost 10 years from where you purchased those. And as we all know, pricing $2 a foot in 91 to $30 a foot today, you're gonna see that same thing. So I would think about, as you lay out your budgets over the next multiple years, you figure out a way to budget more for those replacements, because you won't be able to do it for that 100,000 a year.
I'll make a motion that we purchase
Second.
I would concur.
When would it, do you want to wait till November? Because we're within the window now, we can do it at any time. So whenever you folks are ready to move on with Todd, but
So
really,
the current lease expires in November.
November 15th, I believe.
So this would need to be, and I notice here, if we pay, the first payment needs to be in advance.
Yeah, which would be the same thing, it'd be the time when you would get it. So it would be in the, whenever you want to do it, but John Deere Financial did say that we can do it at any time, up until November. I probably have to do it around the November 10th, before the 15th, to make sure everything's done correctly.
I just want to set that up to get it done late October, early November.
And the last thing I have we done anything on the railroad, on 350 West?
I'm getting the same thing you're getting, which is nothing back, so I'm working on it.
Okay.
You finished?
I am. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen.
I'm not finished with you, but we have the ordinance Chad's prepared for the elementary school down South Decatur, speed zone ordinance. Janet, you have a number for me?
2023-13.
It reduces the speed limit to 30 miles per hour.
Yeah. When
Those
children,
signs have been posted.
they've been posted, it's 30 mile an hour when children are present. They are also posted school zone, so.
We agreed to this, but I don't think we officially voted and signed this ordinance. So
I'd go ahead and just make that motion again.
Second.
I'll concur. Sign. Well, the guys are signed. We also have application for payment number 10 on the highway department's progress payment. Do this application $478,007.06. To be paid by redevelopment TIF money. Approve that.
Make a motion to approve. They're early. We're gonna move in early.
As of right now, the schedule, we want this, we're telling me probably gonna be done middle of October. It's coming along quite nicely.
It is currently under budget. Note that. There's a place on it. He made the motion.
No, I second. Sorry, I was talking to Dana.
I'll concur. Trying to find a place where it's signed. Janet, do we typically sign these? I
You
thought.
usually initial it down there at the bottom of the margin, because that goes to the banking, goes RDC first, redevelopment commission, and they approve it.
All right.
You don't have anything for me.
I don't think so.
We've exhausted you at this
I think
point.
we've heard enough from you.
Thank you.
Kenny Buning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Since our last meeting, I had 62 building inspections, 23 new permits and plan reviews, and 5 permit renewals. Had 3 complaints, one for remodeling the barn and adding living quarters. So I looked into it and it was locked. I left my card and the property owner called me and I asked questions about it. He stated that he was not putting living quarters in the barn, and there's no bathroom in the barn. I do plan to do a site inspection to ensure. The second complaint was for a house that has been abandoned for 2 years and supposedly uninhabitable. On investigation, I found a sticker in the window from a mortgage contracting services company. And the note said the property was winterized on July 20th of 2023. Plumbing turned off to prevent freeze damage. The roof looked good on the house. The house did not look to be uninhabitable to me. There's no trash in the yard, just some tall grass. So I'm not going to send a letter to that one. The third complaint was on a property on 150 South. It's a referral from the HR department. I found no trash or vehicles or anything that is cited in the nuisance ordinance. So no letter will be sent to that one. I think maybe just a couple of neighbors bicker back and forth. I had a follow-up on a property owner in St. Omer. He is asking if we can extend his time so he can use the tox-away days to get rid of all the tires he has in his yard. So we might present that to the commissioner and ask them. And they have started putting up a privacy fence between the two. I have not heard back from the owner or the renter on 850 South.
Are the only issues at the St. Omer property the tires? Or are there other issues?
There's a few other issues, but he promised to get rid of this, like 1 or 2 vehicles that he said somebody else owns. And get them out of there. Which has been going on for 5 years. I would like to see the tires gone.
What's the next toxic days for tires?
Is that September?
9th.
On the way. I think that's unreasonable. So they definitely.
How many were there? How many tires were there out there, Tom?
20 to 30.
I remember
He's been
seeing
getting rid of
pictures.
4 or 5 a week. He says he cuts them up. If he goes any more than that, then they complain about it. Putting them in a trash can.
I think we put a deadline on it. Post the toxic day. and
After talks away days.
Gotta have everything done by that date.
Fine with that. Can you send him a letter, CC us on the letter?
But I think it needs to be all of his violations, vehicles, everything by a week after toxic day.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll carbon copy you guys on that.
Anything on the place down in Bernie?
They called back, one guy came in complaining that he didn't think he deserved to get another letter. And he's the only one that contacted you that.
Where are you at with his place then?
I'll have to check the dates on the letter when you receive it.
I had one that was on County Road 310 North. Do you have any updates on that?
310, which one was that?
We're gonna start trying to assign a case number.
Yeah,
I think
something.
the year and then start at 01 and then that'll give us an opportunity to see how many complaints we're getting a year or two, but we'll have to start assigning some case numbers. That was, let's see if I can find it. There's the one on 120 West. Property, Solomon property.
Those are all in Vernon, right? The 310 North.
120. 120 West was one that I had on my list.
Yeah, Robert Sullivan. That's the guy that called in, said he talked to me and he said, I told him I'm building a garage, but that's been years.
What about the one that's 5 miles east on Highway 46 and south on County Road 500? Didn't have an address.
You don't have an address?
The complaint didn't have an address. reported there's 2 trailers, someone's living in a camper, it's near the railroad.
That's good. That's good.
While we're waiting, Chad, do we have any updates on the Smith residence on 850 South?
Yes, the tenant called me the lawsuit's been filed, and shortly after, the tenant called complaining that essentially that he doesn't understand, he's made significant progress, and this is silly. That's the calmer version of how the conversation went. But I informed him that as of right before the lawsuit was filed, we had done drive-bys, the road was looking either blocked or obstructed or seriously impeding the through, and that we expected, better compliance or we would continue forward. And essentially, I think the position at this point is you all either need to give me some amount of authority to put a hard and fast deadline on him, that we can always walk back the lawsuit if we get compliance, or just at this point say we've been trying this for a long time and we're not where we need to be, so finish it. The owners have been served. The tenant apparently versed enough not to sign for certified mails. They asked our sheriff back there to give me an assist on some service, although as Tony and I discussed, the tenant, I added him because he's there and it's probably his stuff, but having the owners served is really all we need to move forward on compliance. And then, the parents can deal with their kid however they see fit. But getting him served nonetheless, rather than not, but I don't think it's necessary. They got served probably about 10 days ago, so assuming I don't hear anything from anybody in the next 2 weeks, I would be positioned to file a default judgment, get our order for cleanup and assessments, and we could just do it and close the file out.
My general feeling on it is they've had their timelines, they've had their deadlines. If in the next 2 weeks, all of a sudden, everything is cleaned up, then we can talk about that. But that's my general feeling on it. Is we've already had those discussions, we've sent those letters at this point. So.
I agree with that. I drove by the last time, he moved the 2 big dump trucks off the road, but they're still on the property sitting there. He's rearranging more than he is getting rid of. A whole bunch of, if not all of us, it's just kind of a way.
So I will inform him the position is he has until the chance that I can get this before a judge to clean it up, or press it forward under normal timeline.
Yeah, I agree. I'll try to find that county 310 North Kenny.
Kenny, you have anything else for us?
Guys got anything for me?
I think we get flooded.
Yeah, I know. Teresa.
Yes, I'm actually here just to follow up on the email that I sent to each of you concerning the storm damage that we had on July 1st. The county park took a major hit out there as far as tree landed on the house and a piece of playground equipment we lost. We've got several trees that are going to go ahead and come down because they were damaged in the storm. The walking trail, we had 7 trees blocking the walking trail in addition to partial trees. Dog park had a tree down by a piece of equipment. I'm still waiting on a decision on the house. We had our quote from our contractor was higher, of course, than what they had originally quoted us on, but they did fail to include a window that was on the porch that was actually broken out during the storm. So actually 2 windows. So I'm working with them now, but I'm here just to ask for maybe, I guess, a formal request to see if it's possible to get the $10,000 deductible paid out of the Q cap line item for the Parks Department. The total claim looks like it's gonna come in at $49,053 right now. If they agree to the contractors and up that, what they've given us in the settlement. We've already received, or we soon will receive our second check. Okay, well, it was issued on August 1st, so. There will also be depreciation settlements at the end once we repair everything. So, moving forward, I just wanted to come before you guys and see if that was a possibility for going further. And I do have all the email that I sent you printed out if you need to refresh your memory or look at them, or if you wanted hard copies, I do have them for each of you.
Teresa, that 49,000, that's just the house?
No, the actual house claim from the contractor came through at $25,649. It's $14,200 in tree, getting the rest of the trees down and getting some things cleaned up. We actually saved, a lot of money because myself and my 3 maintenance guys and a couple part-time and a couple volunteers, we worked out there Saturday all day to clean the park back up that we had just cleaned up Friday in preparation for the fireworks. So anything that was on the ground, we got that taken care of without filing. No one helped. We didn't have any bills for that. I did reach out to Todd on Saturday morning and asked about a wood chipper or anything we could get to try to speed up the process, but they were already dispatched down to Westport. There was nobody in town to get to the chipper for us, and it was in the back of the barn, but he was more than willing to help us, but he just wasn't here. So I reached out to Mayor Marsh, and Mark Foster Camper came out, and they allowed us to use, I don't even know the correct terminology, but the big piece of equipment that has the claw that picks up all the heavy stuff. So we drug the trees and brush to the drive in the park, and then that made a lot of difference in how fast we could get the county park cleaned up for the fireworks on Monday. So we appreciate their help. And he also helped pick up debris out at Rebecca Park and the dog park when we had that done on Monday. So they were very helpful for us.
So that piece of park equipment that you mentioned, is it in that number also?
Mm-hmm. It's a swing set is what it is. It just bent the frame of the leg and the swing set, and they're no longer really considered safe once they've been damaged. So it's actually, the house itself is about $25,650 right now. The swing set, the dog park piece of equipment was the green tunnel, just smashed it flat. So we're getting a new one of those. We did call out Ellerman Roofing, but whatever it is now. We called them out. They did go out and tarp the top of the roof because it was still raining. It's pretty steep. We don't have the equipment to get up there. So they did that in the storm day. And then also we had to it took the electric out of the house for over a day and a half. So we had to bring in somebody to redo that. So some of those expenses have already been paid. Some of them are still underway. The swing set's ordered now. The doggy equipment is ordered. The trees that have been removed from the walking trail to get that back open. So that's cleaned up and going. We're just really right now waiting on a settlement on this house so that I can get the contractors ready to move and ready to order what he needs. But I need them to agree to his amount versus what they came in as a preliminary estimate. But it should total out about $49,053.
Coming out key caps.
I don't have an issue with it there. If you have estimate. Nope. I'd make that motion.
Second. Concur, so we'll pay the deductible IQ cap.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Patty. You don't have anything else for us, Chad, do you? No.
All right, the new hires to report for July, things have slowed down considerably. We just have one for the highway department, one for detention center, and one for animal control. Update on the website, they are progressing, still going to be a bit. they needed the logo in order to move forward to the next steps. They got a logo, which isn't, I guess, officially released yet, but he's at least seen it so he can see the color palette and see where we're going. So the web designer has that now. And then at some point, we'll get a website.
You say at some point, is there any way we can get a date out of him? This has gone on for quite some time.
When I talked to him, his and Chuck's agreement was in October, early November of this year. Was the original date that him and Chuck kind of agreed on, was fall of this year. They agreed a year to do the whole website.
But he's also shared with me that he's working on Ripley counties and theirs comes before us. So try to get a firm date. The next thing is we had a joint project with the clerk's office. They had to have their page removed and build that new one. The contractor was available, so that process had to be done very quickly. And we combined this effort with a lot of recycling down in the basement. This was a team effort, involved the clerk's office, auditors, prosecutors, and others. Files were moved. Highway department came and did all the heavy lifting and moving. We want to thank them for that. The end result is the new cage was installed. Some of the items we have given to animal control, some to Board of Health, and then we did have scrap, which resulted in $294, which went to the county. And then we now have a new partnership with Shares for recycling. This is going to help us stay up to date with shredding and recycling going forward. I'm going to be sending information out to those in the courthouse about that, which I think should help us as far as maybe keeping the basement in a little better shape. So thanks again to everybody for that. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd, for allowing those guys to come up. I know there was a lot of
Time.
heads and feet down there helping get that stuff moved on short notice. We appreciate that. There is down at the Sally Port, the old door and some old cage material that you guys could maybe use for a tool cage out there at the new highway department. You got, if you want sometime drive down there and look at it, or Tim.
Where's it at?
It's where the dumpsters are, in the basement outside Sally Port. We set it out there, just get it out the inside. But, you're welcome to take it. If not, scrap it. But I thought it's good enough. It could be used out there. You got a tool cage or something up on the mezzanine. So,
When would you like to see that on?
well, I don't think it's in anybody's way.
Okay.
Just before somebody else borrows it. Next thing we have up is insurance discussion. And it's been brought up that health insurance be eliminated for commissioners and council. Tony wanted to talk about this a little bit.
We just tabled it the last meeting for further discussion, I think. The original question or comments were for county commissioners and council, but I think the spirit of the motion was for part-time elected officials to not have health insurance. So I brought up that the county surveyor and the county coroner are also considered part-time, as they don't have expected hours beyond 35. So that was the delay, I think, for making any of those decisions was, I guess, reissuing the conversation was part-time elected officials and their status with health insurance.
I've had just email. I haven't had a personal discussion with Greg Fox and Kathy Dunn at the insurance company. And Going to try to get together this week. A suggestion that came out was in lieu of the insurance, we then give a stipend toward like an HSA account or something to help with insurance costs. I can't really share any numbers yet.
That stipend would be less than what we pay on insurance now.
Correct. Yeah. For hard costs, I think I can share that number. It's $37,722. What it costs the county for a premium, single. So my thoughts were something in the $10,000 to $12,000 range. That saves us $25,000 times 10 or 12 people. So that's about $250,000 a year savings. Plus any claims, and the claims part's what I can't share because of HIPAA, but substantially a lot more.
And the other option that I thought of, and I'd like to see the rest of the numbers that you come up with, Mark, the other thought I had, and I think Mark's idea would probably be better long term, but I just want to put this out there as well, Tony, is that I think we have the ability to eliminate the spouse family portion of that, or at least I'd like to look into that a little bit more, to where it is only the elected official. If we were looking to do something and these numbers for some reason don't pan out, I think that's something that we could talk about. And the whole discussion here, I think it's something that we can talk about.
Not opposed to any other option.
We're trying to get somewhere in the middle if we can. Anything else? Rick?
Morning. Just want to show up. We're cranking, getting our final numbers together. So goal is to have something to you by 21st. We get the 21st. Worst case scenario, we get the 28th. I got Patty put me on the meeting schedule for the 5th of September. But I'll have numbers to you guys obviously before that meeting. So.
And this was for the breakdown of all the different.
Exactly. The windows were the big thing. So we had to get, specs and plans and all that kind of stuff. That's what's taking longer than I'd like.
After we said what we wanted to do.
After you guys kind of picked the option. Yes. We're coming in on the option. So we should have stuff back to you again. We do the 21st or worst case, we do the 28th.
All right, thanks.
Just an update.
Thank you, Rick.
Richard. Here.
I'm the co-owner of the property that we're discussing. This started, we added this to the meeting from the June 19th meeting. I don't know if y'all remember that. I'm sure you do. We found out that the firm that drafted the deed for Donald Carter, which actually was originally under Stanley Carter's name, it was when it was drafted from Stanley Carter to Donald Carter that created a typo in the deed, which we brought to the attention of the firm that drafted the deed, which was Hamilton Tibby. And since that time, it was corrected, like maybe last week it was corrected. And then also we confirmed that there's no utility blockage, because I think we were concerned about there being some access to that area. And then since we own, with the correction of the deed, it legally shows that lot 6 or lot 11 and part of lot 6 belongs to Mr. Friend. The alley runs through lot 6 and 11. So that means that both sides of the alley are owned by Mr. Friend. So there is really no reason that Donald Carter should be involved in this at all. His property doesn't touch. He was the lone person who we didn't have a signature from and refused our petition. So we do have the signatures of everyone else who owns property surrounding that. I mean, they don't actually touch anyone surrounding that we were required to get from the petition. And since he's Mr. Friend's a legal owner of both sides of the alley, that kind of moves the claim by Donald. And then in addition to this, I don't know how you go about this, but because if we are granted the alley closure, then would you know how we could have our title amended to show that if it's granted?
Well, if there's two properties, then the alley would be divided in the center. Each half would go to each property.
Yeah, one side is like that, but the side behind our house, we own both sides of the alley. So, but the side on long side of the property is owned by Mr. Lee and Mr. Friend. So we've already agreed with them about, everyone else was very amicable about the situation, except Mr. Carter. I don't know if you remember from the last meeting, he got really agitated about the whole thing, but come to find out that he had no interest in this because he doesn't actually own, he thought he owned all of lot 6, but he did not own all of lot 6. He only owns a portion of lot 6.
Do you have a copy of the corrected deed?
No, I don't. But Mr. Hamilton took care of it, so he should have a copy. We contacted the auditor just to verify. And Lauren told us that it was correct.
I'd like to see
amended.
I'd like to see a copy of that recorded deed.
Okay, can we just ask them for one?
Yeah.
Mr. Carter still owns the 3 back lots, but they're not adjacent to the alleyway trail.
Nothing that touches that. He owns property alongside portion that doesn't touch our property.
That's the house.
Still,
Not looking at the map.
Speaking, yeah.
I guess it's skewed off. Yeah. A little bit. Might be. Yeah, purpose closed.
And then we did confirm with the utilities that it does not access or it doesn't block the back there.
From his current property, he has access.
Yes, Mr. Carter owns the parcel that would be north of the parcel across the alleyway, correct?
Yes.
And then he owns the, if I remember right, 2 or 3 others to the east.
Yes. So
correct?
he does have access to the property. Actually, both ends of the property he has access to. And he's already, that alleyway
That's Fairway.
that he owns access to, that, he doesn't own access to, but there's an alley. He has already put a chain around it, a chain fence. So he has already taken possession of that property. That is owned by the county.
Bridge 73, I'm thinking that's 5,000.
Did Mr. Carter know you guys were gonna kind of?
Yes, he
bring
did.
it
He was
forward today?
actually at the last meeting on the 19th.
Right.
It was tabled or.
Was he notified that there was gonna be another discussion today about it, so he could object?
Well, I don't know who was supposed to contact him. No one contacted us. We called and asked about the meeting, and that's how we knew it was going to be there. And I think anyone could do that. Isn't that public knowledge?
Right, but you're the petitioners, right? You're filing a
We
petition
are.
to do that. You're back again in front of us, and since he objected, he has to know that the meeting was scheduled, so he can come in and object to it.
Well, that'd be fine if you want to put this on the next meeting, but, you know, I think that, is the sheriff still here? Okay, he needs to be on notice because the people in Milford, especially the Carter family, they're very agitated very easily, and none of them are occupied in the daytime. So they have all this free time, excuse me, and all this agitation towards everyone else in the town of Milford. And I think that they've been accustomed to calling the county and having people come out, sheriffs and deputies, whatever. And we're trying to avoid that.
Okay. So,
As far as him being noticed, I didn't know we had to notify him.
so yeah, I mean, there has to be some notice that this meeting was happening, so he can come to an object. He was at the last one and made an objection, so having this one.
We're not a babysitter.
Well, and if in fact the deeds have been correct, he's not a property owner, but you haven't brought us any proof that the deed has been corrected.
I can get that.
Yeah, that's,
Does,
But his lawyer had to contact him. That's what he told us when we went in to see Mr. Hamilton.
does removing the alleyways restrict his access to his property?
No, it does not.
If in fact the deeds are.
Is that because he can still access from?
He has access from both ends.
And the other street.
So if he were to sell just this parcel, how would somebody get to it?
There's a street on your left, Mill Street.
This,
Yeah, that's a street.
so we're only getting rid of this alley? And this
Just the portion behind our
The
house.
hump, yeah, that alley right
we were talking just that.
just between the two properties. So this one and this one aren't in the conversation. I thought both of these were in.
That's a street on the left. It can't be the alley to the right. They've already agreed. I don't know that we did.
We did not. We did not.
Is this not the one she was talking about, the tree falling on her car?
The tree falling on my car was from the side of the street.
That's a city street, I mean, town street. That can never be closed.
And that street would provide access to this property. What would provide access to this parcel?
Alley on to the right of it. Yeah.
And this. So we're only doing that alley and that alley.
That's what they're asking for.
Yeah. So my question, I guess, and I guess I got confused last time, why did we talk about the tree so much if it wasn't a part of the conversation?
Because the claim was it was on county property's tree.
Okay, I guess I was confused. I thought they were trying to get something done here because we kept talking about how the tree fell on our car and it was.
See that alley there, there's buildings in the alley now, both those alleys. That's the purpose of, they want to close those alleys so we don't own their piece of their property.
And we're prepared to take on, whatever taxes or whatever, whatever our responsibility is. So we're prepared to pay the taxes on the property. We just want to make sure that we get an amended deed to show that we are the legal owners of that property.
Street access to this one, alley access to those two, street to that one.
Yeah, I guess where I do it, I can see it.
That's here. Yeah, I just got it.
Excuse me, but as I was saying, Mr. Hamilton, from the firm of Hamilton and Debbie, he said he would have to talk to his client, who is Mr. Carter. So Mr. Carter is very much aware of this issue because he had to contact him first. So I think that the issue of him being pregnant is absolutely not necessary because he is aware of it through Mr. Hamilton, because he had to talk to him about this. And also he
Well,
reviewed.
if the deed correction is indeed proper and Carter's are not adjoining property law,
Right.
so they would not have to be notified.
Well, I mean, they had to be put on notice when we started this process. You came in and objected. Now you're getting into an area where maybe not technically, but you're all on notice that he doesn't agree to this. So just because Frank was talking to him about a deed correction does not mean Frank told him that it was back on our agenda for today on the alley vacation. Those are two separate issues.
We didn't, how did they get on the agenda? They requested to be?
Yeah, we came into the auditor's office.
Okay. So see, you made that request, we didn't, so we weren't, until today, we didn't know you were gonna be on it. And so,
Well, I remember when we came in for the last meeting, it was going to be continued for a later date after we did a little more research. One of the things that you asked us to do was make sure there were no utilities, and we did. And we also wanted to make sure they had access to that area in case of an emergency. And we did check that. And since then, we also found out about the deed being messed up. And the problem there was corrected. So, we did everything that we were told we had to do, with the exception of, we did have the deed fixed. And that was a typo caused by Mr. Hamilton's office.
What service did you use to make sure there was no utilities?
We called the 311, is that the number you called? 411, and they came out and marked everything.
So the only issue is we don't actually have the second page for the 21 deed, where the property had been conveyed.
Actually, I think the problem with the deed was from 14, in 2014, when Mr. Carter.
Well, I only have the front page of that one, and I don't have both pages of that one either. I have the corrected one, but as far as the full deeds for the 2014, 2021 deed, I don't have the full copies of that to compare legal descriptions completely. So, and given the issue with the descriptions, I want to see the full wording of both 14 and the 21. And then I do want to give Mr. Carter an opportunity to be here today. That's my viewpoint on it. That way we can compare, get the old deeds, compare it with the corrected deed, have Krista look at it because Krista was one of them that had an issue. A lot of times we were here in June, let her look at that again, and then we can have a discussion again next time.
Now, how will Mr. Carter be notified? I'm not going to talk to him.
How did you notify him the first time?
Well, he refused acceptance of the notification. I think I showed you. This is how he got in touch with us. This is what he cares about, the property, nothing. He just is an agitator and volatile and just wants to cause trouble. I mean, if he cared about the property at all, he would respond, but he chooses not to, except to argue.
It's still your petition. You're still the one that wants the alley closed.
Yes, we are. So am I supposed to contact him?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to do that when he doesn't answer or doesn't accept the letters?
You have to have attempted service, is that correct? Chad?
You're saying
We've already done that.
hadn't noticed them, so likely to the summons he's there. So at this point, they just need to mail a copy of the new hearing date. We are beyond the actual, now it's, it'll be posted publicly, it's all public record, and we send it to his last known address, what they do, and that is sufficient in my mind.
He did that for the first hearing. We're trying to have a secondary hearing that he has a right to be at. He has a right to be at every hearing concerning it, not just one. But we continue that, he has a right to be at the next.
Yeah, he would rather, take it to Milford and do nasty things there, because he's been known to do that and hasn't done that.
So if you guys are wanting to push it forward, you guys just need to send him a letter and say, hey.
It's like his daddy, he always wants to be charged.
Well, what I can do is, in lieu of, sending him a letter, I can go on his porch, knock on the door and give it to him. I mean, is that considered good enough for this meeting?
That would be acceptable if you put it in his hand, yes.
Okay, I will do that.
Just put these animal hall.
Mhm.
And we can show that this will be on the agenda for next meeting.
And please put the deputies on notice that there's going to be trouble in Milford. It's a shame that it has to be that way.
All right, we'll have it on the meeting, or on the agenda for next meeting.
August 21st. And hopefully we'll have all the papers you need, pages from the.
So that's what we need, right? Full copies
Yeah,
of
I
the
only have
14th even.
I only have the first place, or the first page for both the 2014 and the 2021 deeds.
We'll make sure Krista's here. And then have another hearing, we should be able to post that.
Yep.
Sorry to put you off, but we got to make sure both sides are taken care of.
Yeah, we're trying to do everything we can. We're trying to make it legal and not just assume that, that everyone's going to be amicable about it, because they're not. And, we're trying to do everything that we can to get this done.
So are we. We want to do it the right way. So.
Exactly, that's what we're saying.
May I ask you?
My name's Kathy with a C, last name Taylor. Thank you.
Dawn, you have anything for us?
We had a very successful 38th annual golf outing on Friday, so I want to thank everybody publicly for their participation in that, supporting over 345 businesses in the county and the city. Those acts do not go unnoticed, so we appreciate everyone's participation, whether it be through playing or sponsorship. It was a great day out there at North Branch. The chamber is also very excited to be going to the state capitol on Wednesday, being recognized for being in service here and a service to our local businesses for over 100 years. So we are taking Mr. Coors with us as representative of the county, our president, and our past president of the board for that reception on Wednesday. So we're excited about that, and we'll be back to talk about that the next week.
Thanks. Brian, any updates?
Yeah, kind of on a particular project, we're hopefully finishing up the final discussions on economic development agreement. Working Danny on that, and hoping to kind of come to terms on that next week or so. Kind of get that project moving forward. That's the battery energy storage project. We have another project that plans to submit their plans probably fall, winter this year. We've been with them for about a year and a half, 2 years now. That's going to be coming up. We're planning soon. I'll remind you the Ready 2.0, the reason meeting, are getting ready to have meetings on projects to submit for that next add-on for our application. They have not set a deadline yet at the state level, but we're trying to move pretty quickly. So we will want the county's input on what priorities you guys have as far as projects for the region. We do have projects left that were not able to be funded in the first round of the Ready. So we have a starting
based on public input and everything, but if there are some, projects that have come up since then, or changes need to be made to previous projects, we, suggest those, get included. And then, lastly, what do I have? I just had, Tony and I took a wonderful, tour of Lake McCoy, last week. Beautiful time here. And, with the realtor who's reached out to us and, wants to, work with the communities to make sure that we can get a good owner out there. I think it was a very smart trip. Followed up with that in Washington Township, afterwards.
Thanks. Anyone else? Danny, you got anything for us?
No, sir.
Sheriff, you've been, normally you come with your hat out.
I can do that as you'd like. That's always been a request. Well, I'm good this morning.
Good to see you here. Gary, got anything? All right.
I met with residents of Lake McCoy on Sunday afternoon. Good conversation. They're hopeful and excited to start getting things moving. I just outlined what committee's priorities have been so far with unsafe buildings, trailer park and private residences combined, the safety of the water, and continue testing with that. 10 or 12 people who showed up seemed interested in continuing working forward to get things done. So
When's the next water test scheduled out there?
it'll be in September. We're gonna do one every 90 days. Last one was June 28th. I have made contact with the current case handlers from IDEM. They went out and inspected the trail park again on July 11th. Of course, it's still in violation. They only listed the conservancy in their violations for that and the water treatment plant. So I'm working with them to find out why the conservancy is even listed on that, because it's our understanding they can't spend any money at all on the treatment plant. I'm also trying to work with DLGF and State Board of Accounts to confirm that, but everything I've read is not inside of their wheelhouse to put any money into that. So I provided them information for the current listed owner, so that they can start working that avenue towards those corrections on that side also. So the work in progress on the IDEM and the IDNR and the Board of Health, current findings and standings, and really even determining what's a plan moving forward, figuring out what's actually broken. So that's kind of where we're at on those things.
If there's nothing else, entertain a motion to recess.
Make that motion.
Second.
Well, you cover. Thank you all for coming.